Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. In my today's lecture, I am going to discuss with you the histological features of ciliary body and iris. So you already have seen that the eyeball has three important coats which is making up the globe-like structure of the eyeball. The outer one, that is the fibrous tunic, which is made up of cornea and sclera, and the vascular tunic, which is making up the middle coat of the eyeball, that is made up of iris, which is this anterior portion, the ciliary body, here you can see, and the rest beyond the ora serrata, the posterior structure of the vascular tunic is choroid. We have already discussed the histological features of the cornea, sclera and choroid, and today I am going to start with the histological features of this ciliary body and iris, which is also the component of the vascular tunic, also known as uveal tract or uvea. And you can see very easily from here that beyond the ora serrata, which is the anterior margin of sensory portion of the retina, beyond that the choroid that is going to expand and widen up to form the ciliary body, and then more anteriorly this is making up this iris, which is a diaphragm like structure and having an aperture or opening in the center here, which is the pupil. So this is the iris and ciliary body. The third basic coat and very important layer, that is the neural tunic, or that is retina. The retina is composed of the pigmented layer as well as it is having the neural layer, which is photosensitive layer of the retina. So these are the three very important basic coats of the eyeball, and I hope till now. Now here you are going to focus now on the ciliary body here, which you can see, and this is the iris. So here you can very easily see that this choroid, which you have seen is the vascular coat having the rich vascularity as well as the melanin pigmentation, which is giving it the darker color, and then beyond ora serrata anteriorly it is widened up and making up this ciliary body. The ciliary body is going to compose of the ciliary muscles, and here you can appreciate these are the ciliary processes. So these ciliary muscles, which are here very important, that is the longitudinally running muscle attached at this limbus, its contraction, it is going to widen the angle of that limbus, which is leading to the opening up of that canal of Schlemm or scleral venous sinus, and that's how there is increased absorption of the aqueous humor into the venous circulation. And the other muscles, these are the circular muscles and radial muscles, which are important for the action on the lens for the light accommodation. We will discuss them later. Here you can see that if you have a cut section of the ciliary body, that is going to have a triangular shape, triangular structure, out of which you can see this is its outer margin or outer border, which is attached to the sclera, and its inner border that is attached and it is towards the vitreous body. And this one, that is the base of the ciliary body, that is anterior border, and this is towards the lens, and here you can see the zonular ligaments, they are going to attach to the ciliary processes, as well as this border, which is anterior border or the base, that is facing towards the posterior chamber. So that base or anterior chamber is towards the posterior chamber and lens of the eyeball. And also you can appreciate here that this one, which is Now the that you can say is the inner surface or inner border of the ciliary body. This is going to have two important areas. The posterior 1/3, that is smooth. Actually this is posterior 2/3 area, that is a smooth area. This is known as pars plana. This is plain and smooth surface, so that is known as pars plana, that is making up the posterior 2/3 of the inner surface, and in its anterior 1/3 where these ciliary processes are going to rise, and you can see and appreciate at this area. This is known as the pars plicata, because here you can see this is a rough border showing you the plications because of the presence of these ciliary processes. These are radially arranged processes which are actually 70 to 80 ridges present on that ciliary body. And here you can also appreciate the iris. The iris that is going to have that outer border which is irregular and rough. This is the outer border of the iris facing towards the anterior chamber, and that is its inner or the posterior border. Here you will appreciate the epithelium later in this lecture. So in the previous slide you have already seen that the ciliary body, which is the part of the uveal tract, it extends from ora serrata anteriorly till the root of the iris, from where the iris is going to emerge. And this is triangular in cross section, and I have shown you it's all the borders and surfaces actually having one surface, which is the outer surface in contact with sclera, and the inner one that is towards the vitreous body. It is attached to that vitreous body. And the third one is irregular surface, which is having the ciliary processes facing towards the posterior chamber of the eye and the lens, that is making the base of that triangular shaped ciliary body. If you see histologically, the ciliary body consists of actually the ciliary muscles, which I have given you a bit review of that there are three muscles: the longitudinal running muscles, the radial and circular muscles. And next to that is the ciliary stroma, which is present in the ciliary body, and ciliary epithelium. So the ciliary muscles, they are three groups of the smooth muscle fibers, which are circular, longitudinal and radially arranged muscles, and they are very important to help in visual accommodation. As I have told you that the longitudinal muscle attached to it is attached at limbus, and it is helping to widen the angle of the canal of Schlemm, and it improves the circulation and flow of the aqueous humor into venous circulation. The radial muscles, they are very important. They are going to induce the tension on the zonular fibers, which is pulling it and making the lens more flattened. And the inner muscles, when they are going to contract, they are releasing the tension on the zonular fibers, making them relax, and that's how they are making the lens more biconvex. So these are the function of these ciliary muscles. Then are the ciliary processes, which you have seen. They are almost 70 to 80 ridge-like, finger-like projections, and these are going to consist of histologically the loose connective tissue core, which is rich in fenestrated capillaries, and it is covered by two layers of epithelium, the same which is the ciliary epithelium, that is covering the ciliary processes as well. The important functions of the ciliary processes are: number one, they give attachment to the fibers of suspensory ligaments of the lens. They are same the zonular fibers or zonular ligaments, also known as the suspensory ligament of the lens, which extends from the basement membrane of the pigmented epithelium of the ciliary processes to the capsule of the lens. Number 2, they are secreting the aqueous humor, which is from the it is secreted by non-pigmented epithelium. So they secrete the aqueous humor into the posterior chamber of the eyeball. So these are the two important functions. Number 1, it is giving attachment. Not only it is giving attachment, they are also secreting the fibrillin protein, which is going to form and which is the main component of these zonular fibers or suspensory ligament. And number 2, it is secreting the aqueous humor into the posterior chamber. So here I am going to show you the pictures which I hope would improve your knowledge about the ciliary body. Here you can see the choroid, which is dark stained, the dark colored coat. It is vascular. You can appreciate the blood vessels present in the choroid, which is now having the melanocytes and showing you the pigments in the choroid. So this is the choroid, and here this is retina, the next layer. So here you can see that this area is the cornea and the sclera, and from here the choroid, it is going to expand, and that is approximately making 6 millimeter thick or wide that ciliary body. And then there is the ciliary processes, that area that is showing you here. This portion is pars plicata, and this posterior 2/3 is pars plana, and that is making up the anterior surface towards the lens and posterior chamber of eyeball. And this is the iris, you can see. So you have noted that this is full of the muscle tissue. There is the smooth muscles present in it, as well as it is having the melanocytes, that is also the pigmented layer as in the choroid. So this ciliary processes here, you can see they are going to have that epithelium, which is double layer of the epithelium. One is the pigmented epithelium, which is facing towards the ciliary stroma, and the other one here, which is the outer one, more towards the vitreous chamber and towards the outer surface of the ciliary processes. This is the non-pigmented epithelium. So actually this epithelium is responsible to secrete the aqueous humor, as well as this is secreting fibrillin protein, which is making zonular fiber, and these ciliary processes is giving attachments to the these zonular fibers as well. So here you can appreciate this epithelium, the cells, which is non-pigmented, and this one is the pigmented, and inner, that is having the ciliary stroma. Definitely that is the collagen fibers, the fibroblasts, the melanocytes, and this is having the ciliary muscles. You have seen there are 3 groups of the ciliary muscles as well. So these are the histological H&E stain slides which are showing you. So as you have seen in the previous slide, that the ciliary epithelium, that has 2 layers of simple columnar epithelium. So both of these layers of the ciliary epitheliums are simple columnar epithelium, and they are derived from retina. So you can say these layers are the extension of the epithelium of the retina. The first inner one, which is pigmented epithelium, and it is adjacent to ciliary stroma. It has going to have the melanin rich cells, so giving it pigmented appearance. It represents anterior continuation of pigment epithelium of the retina. So when you will study, you will understand that there is the retinal pigment epithelium, so its extension is giving that pigmented epithelium of ciliary body. The second layer, it is going to cover that pigment epithelium, and it consists of non-pigmented cells, and it represents anterior continuation of the sensory layer of the retina. So these 2 layers are extending up into the ciliary body and making the respective pigmented layer and non-pigmented layer of the ciliary body. The cells which are the non-pigmented cells, these are simple columnar epithelium, and these cells, they show lateral indigitations and basal infoldings. As well as they release the fibrillin, they are going to secrete that fibrillin and helping in formation of the zonular fibers, as I have told you, and secretes the aqueous humor in the posterior chamber. So these cells, which are the columnar type cells in non-pigmented ciliary epithelium, their cytoplasm, they have numerous mitochondria. They must have numerous mitochondria, the Golgi apparatus, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So all these, they help to form the aqueous humor, to secrete and synthesize the fibrillin protein, and helping in formation of that zonular fibers which are attached to the capsule of the lens. So here in this picture, it is a very closer view where you can see this is the area of the sclera, the fibrous tissue you can see here, and this one, actually this is taken from the area of the corneoscleral junction, which is limbus. And now you can also appreciate here, these are the ciliary muscles along with the melanin pigments. So the ciliary stroma which is present over here, that is actually the vascular layer which contains the loose connective tissue and the blood vessels, and the loose connective tissue has loosely arranged collagen fibers and the network of fenestrated capillaries. These capillaries, they are lying adjacent to the ciliary epithelium, and they are concentrated in the region of these ciliary processes. So in these area closer to that ciliary epithelium, in the ciliary process, there will be more and more numerous fenestrated capillaries you will appreciate. And here you can see the columnar epithelium, the two layers of these epithelium. The inner one heavily loaded with melanin pigment, this is the pigmented epithelium, and this one which is towards here outer side, this is lightly staining cells and non-pigmented cells which are non-pigmented epithelium. This type of ciliary epithelium secretes the aqueous humor, and they are responsible to synthesize the fibrillin protein for zonular fiber. And here this is towards the posterior chamber of the eyeball, and from here you can see this is making up the here root of the iris. From here the iris is going to start, and you will appreciate very easily that towards the iris, the framework of the ciliary epithelium is going to change dramatically. The pigment epithelium is now more towards its outer side, and the lightly staining non-pigmented epithelium will be towards the anterior border, which is facing towards the stroma of the iris. So that is reverse in order from ciliary process and ciliary body towards the iris. These two layers of epithelium in iris are going to reverse. So again here you can appreciate the histological picture of the ciliary body. It is very wide, 6 millimeter wide, as I have told you, having the smooth muscles in it with melanin pigment. Then this is the ciliary epithelium, and you can appreciate these finger-like radially arranged almost 75 ridges which are the ciliary processes. And now you can see here somehow that zonular fibers, which are the zonular fibers of the suspensory ligament of the lens, and these are also going to be secreted and synthesized from that non-pigmented epithelium. So these are the zonular fibers which are, you can see very easily here. Now moving on to the next part, that is the iris. I hope you have almost understanding the structure of the iris as I have shown you the pictures. So that is making up the anterior part of uveal tract, and this is actually the component which is giving the color to eye. This is a disc-like or diaphragm-like structure. It is attached to the ciliary body peripherally and having a rounded aperture in the center, which is called pupil. The iris histologically has the layers. Number one, it is having anterior iridial border. The iridial border, which is anterior on the anterior surface of the iris towards the anterior chamber. It is not covered by any epithelium actually, and this is having the discontinuous layer of the connective tissue made up of collagen fibers, the fibroblast and the melanocytes. These are interdigitating together, and that's why this is giving irregular and rough grooved appearance to that anterior border of the iris. Deep to that layer is the stroma of the iris, which is the iris stroma. It is again loose connective tissue having the anterior zone, which is poorly vascularized but rich in the fibroblast and melanocytes, and its posterior zone, which is towards the epithelium of iris. This is highly vascularized posterior zone. Even I have also told you in the ciliary body that the fenestrated capillary network are more concentrated towards the ciliary epithelium. So same here, the blood vessels are more towards the epithelium. So around the pupil, the stroma of the iris is going to have numerous amount of circularly arranged smooth muscle fibers. These smooth muscle fibers, they are making up the muscles of the iris. These are actually the pupillary muscles. So these circularly arranged smooth muscles, these are the sphincter pupillae muscle of the iris, which are innervated by parasympathetic nerves through the ciliary ganglion. Its post-ganglionic fibers, these are from the ciliary ganglion reaching to the muscles through short ciliary nerves. So parasympathetically innervated muscles are these sphincter pupillae. So definitely its name is indicating that when they are contracting, these are going to constrict the pupil. So here in this slide you can easily understand the structure of the iris. You can see this is now the sclera, the cornea and the sclera you can see, and this is the canal of the Schlemm. You can appreciate here, this is canal of Schlemm. And you have seen there was a scleral spur, which is actually the thickening of the fibrous tissue of the sclera, where most of the extraocular muscles are going to attach, making up that thickened part or ridge-like structure known as scleral spur. It is nothing, it is just a thickening of the fibrous tissue. And here you can see that this iris, this is going to have this ciliary margin, which is the margin towards the ciliary body. It is the root of the iris. It is attached to the margin of ciliary body. This is ciliary margin. And the next one, which is making up the diaphragm like aperture, this one, that rounded and smooth margin, again you can see here, this is the pupillary margin of the diaphragm, and it is here making up that opening, which is the pupil, which is helping for the entrance of the light only through the pupil, and rest of the light is absorbed through that pigmented epithelium of the iris. So you can appreciate the surfaces here, that this one iris, the portion which is towards the cornea, towards the anterior chamber, that is having this rough and devoid of epithelium, no epithelium. You can appreciate this margin, anterior iridial border, that is just made up of the loosely arranged collagen fibers, the fibroblast and the melanocytes, this is interdigitating together, giving this rough appearance. Next was the ciliary stroma here, which is having the ciliary muscles, and you have seen that the sphincter pupillae muscle that is more closely arranged and concentrated towards the pupil. It is innervated by the parasympathetic nerves. So these are the muscle responsible for the constriction of the pupil. So these are the sphincter pupillae muscles. Next here you can see this is the dilator pupillae, which is actually the extension of the myoepitheliocyte from the non-pigmented epithelium of the iris, and this one, the more posteriorly, that is the pigmented epithelium of the iris. So again here you can see this is the margin, which is anterior surface that is going to have because of interdigitations and irregularly arranged collagen fibers, this is giving the rough appearance at this anterior border of iris. Then is highly vascularized with melanin pigments and fibroblast. This is the ciliary stroma along with that sphincter pupillae muscle. Then is the layer which is non-pigmented, and this is going to extend into the stroma as the dilator pupillae muscles, and the posterior layer is the pigmented epithelium. So this is very interesting picture where you can see as well these are the ciliary processes, and from here these thread-like zonular fibers, these are attached on it, and on its inner side you can see the ciliary muscles. They are present in the ciliary body, and you can appreciate the entrance of the blood vessel into this choroid. Into the choroid, the main artery which is going to enter up, and this is present in the initial layer of the stroma. Then in the choriocapillary layer, this is going to divide into the capillary network, the fenestrated type of the capillary network. So here in the choroid, the blood vessels is entering, you can also see, so that's why this is highly vascularized and pigmented layer. So I hope from this picture you can easily understand now the. So this is H&E stained slide, which is showing you this portion, the interior portion towards the interior chamber, having no epithelium, but actually this is having the connective tissue along with fibroblast. Then is the ciliary stroma, and this one is now the double layer of the epithelium towards the posterior chamber or towards the inner aspect of the iris. So the posterior surface of iris, that is smooth as compared to the interior, in which you have seen there is the grooves and that is showing the rough appearance, but the posterior surface is smooth. It is covered by the two layers of epithelium which are same as that of ciliary body, but they are reverse in order, keep in mind. The posterior layer, which is facing towards the posterior chamber, that is pigmented. It is having the melanocytes, so they are heavily pigmented epithelium. So it is preventing the light from entering into the eye except the pupil. The anterior layer, which is adjacent to the stroma of iris, this is consist of the non-pigmented or very less amount of pigmented cells. These are actually myoepithelial cells. These cells, they arranged the radially arrangement of the processes which are forming the dilator pupillae muscles. So I have told you that the dilator pupillae muscles are actually the extensions from the myoepithelial cells, which are giving the radially arrangement processes of these myoepithelial cells, making up dilator pupillae muscle. This muscle is having sympathetic innervation, which is through the long ciliary nerves. So these are helping to increase the diameter of pupil, because when they are going to contract, they are increasing the diameter of the pupil. So these are the two layers, the posterior pigmented layer and anterior myoepithelial like layer which is going to give the dilator pupillae muscle. So simplifying that, in iris you are going to have towards that anterior aspect where there is no epithelium, this is anterior border having the connective tissue, then is the stroma ciliary, this is stroma of the iris having the pupillary muscles which are more concentrated towards the lens here, lens and pupil. So you can appreciate very easily here, this is the pupillary border of the iris, and these all the muscular tissue, the smooth muscles which you can appreciate are the sphincter pupillae muscles. And here this is whole is the stroma, and these irregularities in margin and roughness in the anterior aspect of iris. Then is the posterior side where you can appreciate two epithelium, the one which is this one actually myoepitheliocytes making up the dilator pupillae muscles. You can see here again this area showing you the dilator pupillae muscles, and the inner surface has that pigmented, heavily loaded pigmented epithelium. This is pigmented layer which is preventing the entrance of light, except the light can enter through pupil. So this is pigmented epithelium. So you can also appreciate here this is constrictor pupillae, and this is the dilator pupillae muscles which are having different innervation from autonomic nervous system. Constrictor pupillae has parasympathetic innervation through short ciliary nerves, and its ganglion is the ciliary ganglion, and this parasympathetic sphincter pupillae muscle are responsible to constrict the pupil. This dilator pupillae muscle, these are having the sympathetic innervation through the long ciliary nerves, and these are increasing the diameter of pupil. So simplifying here now whole of the structure we have done with the tunica fibrosa, the iris at this number 1, and you have seen its epithelium is continuous as the epithelium of conjunctiva. Here this is number 2, you can see this conjunctiva, and then this is the sclera which you have seen. Then is this choroid, and then it extends beyond ora serrata as ciliary body. Along with that you can appreciate these are the ciliary processes. From here this is the ciliary margin or the root of the iris, which is now going to have this anterior border and the posterior border. Anterior border towards anterior chamber, it is having no epithelium, but the posterior border towards that posterior chamber has the same 2 layers of epithelium as the ciliary body, but they are in reverse. So I hope now you understand the histological structure of the all the components in the tunica fibrosa, the fibrous layer, cornea and sclera, as well as tunica vasculosa, which comprises of choroid layer posteriorly, and anteriorly it is having that ciliary body as well as the iris. In the next, so this is very important, the color of the eye. Definitely you have seen that the eye has different colors in different individuals. So the color of the eye, it depends upon the concentration and amount of melanocytes in the pigmented epithelium and in the stroma of the iris. This is responsible to give color to eye. So the people which are going to have very few amount of the melanocytes in the stroma and in this pigmented epithelium, then the light reflected from that pigmented layer gives iris as a blue appearance. So you can see they are going to have then blue eyes. So if there are people which are going to have more and numerous amount of the melanocytes in the stroma and in pigmented epithelium, then the light reflected, it gives the darker eyes, darker color, that is brown to black color to eye in appearance. So actually this iris, they can be according to the amount of melanocytes from blue eyes to the gray and then it can become, if it is very high amount of the melanocytes, they are giving brown to dark colored or black colored eyes. So the people where you can see there is the deficiency of that pigment, they lack the pigment, melanocyte pigment in their cells, that is a condition known as albinisms. So in the albinos, you can see their eyes, they are pink in color. So they have pink eyes because they are going to show you the blood vessels of the iris. The blood vessels of the iris can be visible through that areas. So because of this, their eyes are going to become a very light pink in color, as they lack melanocyte pigments in their cells. So here I end up with the histological features of ciliary body as well as iris, which are the important components in the uveal tract. Also they are the component of tunica vasculosa. So we have done with the two layers of the eyeballs, the fibrous as well as the vascular layer. So in the next class I will move on to the neural layer of the eyeball, that is retina, and that is very important as far as the examination point of view. So you are going to focus on the retina inshallah in my next lecture. Thank you very much.